Okay, so we can go ahead and start. Today, Darlene Supplee is here to talk to us. She's the executive director of the Senior Center, and she's gonna do a little overview of the resources and services the Fairbanks Senior Center provides, as well as talking about recent and future developments, like where the Senior Center is going to go, because there's some pretty exciting new things happening. So without further ado, here's Darlene to talk with you guys a little bit, and then if there's time, we can ask some questions at the end. Oh, you're on mute, Darlene.
What is the time frame? Is it a half hour?
About 45 minutes.
Okay, great. I know I definitely will not talk for 45 minutes. It's good to see some faces and some new faces for me. I'm Darlene Supplee, and I'm the executive director at the Fairbanks Senior Center. Our legal name is North Star Council on Aging, but that's a mouthful, so we just say Fairbanks Senior Center. I've been in the position for 9 years now. When I first started here, the Senior Center was really quiet and didn't have much activity going on. There were quite a few changeovers in EDs, and I think in that the purpose and light of the Senior Center kind of got shuffled in the reorganization. We started with, when I started, it was $320,000 in funding, with the primary focus being on transportation and Meals on Wheels. Over the years, we have grown to, during the height of the pandemic, we were able to bring in funds to support our pioneers in our community at about 2.7 million. And in that 2.7 million, we increased our meal service from 64,000 to over 80,000. We were able to bring in 900 food boxes to address food insecurities. We were able to assemble 500 emergency readiness kits that were really based around seniors. If the Senior Center can ever find more funding, that would definitely be something that I think that we would want to support. Sasha had a great need during that winter snowstorm. It had a crank battery radio with a lantern, and it charged cell phones, and there was shelf-stabled food, and it was just really a key component in those emergencies that was really senior specific and driven. We are growing here in the interior at a 28% growth rate in our pioneers. We have approximately 1,880 and older in our community now. We will have over 5,080 and older in our community by 2030. So the Senior Center continues to bring in base components to help the pioneers who built this community that we all live in remain living independently at home or a home of their choice. So the base programs that we have brought in over the years is the NTS grant, Nutrition, Transportation, and Service grant, which is Meals on Wheels, transportation, homemaker services, information and referral. The Aging, Disability, and Resource Office. And that was really key for us to bring into the interior. Aging, Disability, and Resource Center is gateway to person-centered intake. So for individuals that need to utilize assisted living homes or the Pioneer Home, full care. The review of the level of services is done through Aging, Disability and Resource Office. And up until we brought that program in 4 years ago, the evaluation was done in Kenai and an office in Kenai. And so we thought it was really important to bring Aging, Disability Center here locally so we could better care for individuals, whether disabled or seniors, with very specific needs in healthcare. We brought in a Helping Hands home modification program about 4 years ago. And this is to set individuals up for success at home with grab bars, handrails, removable shower head, shower seats. One of the largest components of emergency rooms are slips and falls from bathrooms. And so Carla Zorlos has a tremendous passion for home modifications, and she set up Helping Hands so that we could go off and better utilize volunteers and contractors with some funding, whether if that's through our Home Depot Foundation and Meals on Wheels, or through other grants that we're attempting to be awarded so we can continue to help individuals with that homebound component, living at home, choosing to stay homebound, living at home. If we have 1,880 and older now, and we're going to have 5,000 by 2030, and we have 250 assisted living home beds, and we have very independent minded pioneers that live in the interior that are built tough and industrial, that we need to go in and do some simple mods so individuals can age at home by throwing a grab bar in a bathroom. You know, there's small little simple things that make a safety component at home to, you know, nobody needs to break a hip, right? So I'm going to pause there for a moment to see if anybody has any questions about the base of the programs that we have. And then I'll talk about some creating components and where we're moving as we move forward. Hello, Cheryl. It's wonderful to see your smiling face.
I'm on my treadmill, so I'll be not bouncing around in front of you most of the time. But tell me about the eligibility criteria for the services that you provide.
So 60 and older, Cheryl, is mostly the qualification. Other than that, the senior center really doesn't have we're not for the evaluation of Meals on Wheels or congregate or transportation or homemaker services. That income level is not a requirement. We for Meals on Wheels during the pandemic, we removed all of the activities of daily living requirements. And so how do we best kind of service our community if we're short on funds? And so there's called activities of daily living, and they include transferring in and out of a chair, need assistance with bathing, eating, dressing. And during the pandemic, it's because, you know, it's so hard because it's not normal. Nothing's normal now, but the pandemic and grant services and the senior center closing, that we didn't have any real true qualifications for Meals on Wheels. And so there really isn't any specific qualifications. Like the pet grant has a which I'll talk about for the future, has a 30,000, but for the most part, it's just 60 and over, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, Darlene. Thanks for doing this. I just had a question about the base that you're talking about. When you say there's 1,000 or 2,000 seniors, is that in the North Star Borough?
So in the North Star Borough, the
Okay.
80 and older cohort is has 1,800 individuals currently living in the borough. There are
Okay, thank you.
18,060 and older total in the borough, but okay, so future. We were able to capture a couple of grant funds. One is a pet program. Pets Need Love too. We are the grant requirement is 30,000 or less for veterans care. So if you have a neighbor, friend, aunt, uncle, whoever that has a couple of pets that need some attention, I'm currently taking applications for the pet grant. It's for blood work, annual checkups, some surgeries. You know, the amount of proven statistics now with pets and the benefits of having those that love shared for individuals that are 60 and older. Meals on Wheels of America was able to put out a grant, and we were one of the 15 in the state, in all of the states, and so pretty blessed about that. We are getting ready to rethink how we do homemaker services. So earlier I spoke about the NTS grant and homemaker chore service, homemaker services. And so instead of hiring a part-time employee to go off and to help with doing a load of laundry, changing seats, those sheets, those cleaning a bathroom, balance, strength, standing, that we were able to receive approval to hire a volunteer coordinator. And this volunteer coordinator will allow us to organize volunteers to go into homes to help independent living. One of the things that I have found over my 9 years of being the executive director is that there are pockets of passions. There are pockets of passions amongst volunteers. Example are passion for screwdrivers. Somebody that is into construction, likes tape measures, and there are passions for pets. There is passions for cooking, cleaning. There are passions for driving, and in the interior, one of the key components in providing services to keep our seniors living in the borough is to include volunteering. And so that volunteer program of Homemaker will get started within the next 2 months, and then we'll be doing some outreach, trying to find those pockets of passions of individuals that want to adopt an individual. We'll run background checks, so that way we're making sure that we're sending individuals in a safe way. So we're excited about that. We have construction going on. We were able to receive some funds to do a kitchen expansion, and that started in August. The kitchen expansion will allow us to put our kitchen equipment that is currently sitting in our dining room back into the kitchen. It will enable us to grow in the production of meals. We're adding an 8-burner range instead of a 6. We are adding a conventional oven. So we'll have 4 ovens, not just 2. And then, of course, space, which is always a valuable component here at the senior center. And we also were able to purchase a new walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer, which will actually be inside the building versus across the parking lot in the garage. So we're super excited about that. We received, well, I should say we were chosen. Senator Murkowski's office put out into the state that they were taking appropriation requests for capital projects, and their senior center submitted an appropriation request for 2.5 million. And we were chosen as an individual project to move forward. This project will include some office expansion, dining room expansion for exercise classes, educational classes, etc. Parking lot repave because it is in desperate need, and then adding 12 to 14 parking spots for employees so we can get the employees off the important spots in the parking lot and utilize those for individuals that want to come in and use services here at the senior center. We will know more about that in December. So we're crossing our fingers and hoping that that goes through. It'll be a huge relief for the senior center to stop focusing in on footprint and be able to truly go back to focusing in on program growth. That one of the unique challenges about the borough is it's the size of New Jersey. We have pockets of seniors that live in the borough. An example of that is 4,000 that live in Goldstream that are 60 and older. And the senior center sees the head of the senior center as like an octopus head, and the bigger the octopus, the longer the tentacles. And so we're right now trying to focus in on expanding that footprint so we can send services out. We obviously can't have 4,000 individuals all coming into Fairbanks. And so how do we utilize the Goldstream Community Center or the Sasha Senior Center to be able to help individuals stay in their pockets of communities as we grow collectively over the next 10 years. So I'm going to stop and see if anybody has any questions.
I have a question for you, Darlene. With the pet grant, does it only cover like medical wellness of the pet? Would it, I know that pets, although are super great, they also present a fall risk in themselves as well, or training issues. Like, would taking your dog to a training or obedient class be a suitable use of those for pet owners, or is it just veterinarian costs?
Just veterinarian cost. The specific grant is just veterinarian cost. So there is a couple of things that I would like to mention with regards to activities. I know that Aging at Home has a volunteer base, which is amazing. When I first heard of the village to village concept, Barb, Lando, and I decided that Aging at Home would be a wonderful component to housing, meaning we're their fiscal sponsors. The nonprofit status comes from the senior center. And that there are different levels of financial security within our community. And if we take those that have a higher level of financial security and give them an amazing group such as aging at home, then the senior center can focus in on those individuals that are not as well off financially on the bottom part of the chain, that truly, 16,000, 78% of our Meals on Wheels clients are at or below an income level of 16,000. And so there are the volunteering component. Leslie and I have known each other prior to her taking this position with Aging at Home with regards to volunteering and the activities and the communication out amongst our community. So strategically, as a community, there are multiple forces that need to move forward in order to be able to prepare for what is fondly known as the silver tsunami. It is a 63% growth rate in the state of Alaska. All of these amazing souls came up here and built our state, baby boomers, and they are remaining in the state. It is a worldwide phenomena. It is not just local to the state of Alaska. It is the oldest aging population, fastest growing aging population in 3 centuries worldwide. And there are some tweaks that we need to do as a community in order to be able to solidify services so that way we can help loved ones, seniors, individuals, grandparents, all remain here in the community. And so volunteerism is one component. Home-based community services is going to be key. And an example of that would be personal care attendants. You can find those through Fairbanks Resource Agency. Sometimes you need somebody to go in and help an individual shower. That's the only thing that they need. And so that is a very important component. Meals on Wheels is more than a meal. We've always structured it to be more than a meal. It is a way of, do you need heating assistance? Do you need a ramp? Do you need grab bars? So the meal has always been a way. Exercise classes, socialization, that important component. Transportation is big here, especially during the winter. So that is another component where volunteering and services are key in moving that piece forward. Legislative wise, having the state acknowledge and focus in on it as a component to the overall wraparound component that we need to do for the state, again, being that we have a 63% growth rate here, which is highest of any state. It needs a little attention so that way we can make sure that we're layering as we go. I have communicated throughout the years that having the baby boomers impact since birth will impact on the rear end, which I am the very last year in that definition of baby boomers. That it's a big ship and we can't collectively wait till the last minute to turn it. It takes strategic moves in order to be able to prepare a community for celebrating life out loud. And legislative wise is an important component in partnering with boroughs, cities to help prepare. And then checking out a neighbor, adopting a neighbor, that kind of, all of those things are really super important in celebrating life. And especially, I say 9.99% of the individuals that I speak to all want to age at home, love their home. That's where they want to stay. And whether if that is cutting their own wood, hauling in water, Bedrooms upstairs, living room is downstairs, kitchen's downstairs, the stairs are an issue. I think that collectively we can tackle where we're going. We can enhance the lives of individuals that built the roads that we drive on, the homes, the businesses, the structure of the borough. It just takes some talking out loud and kind of a group effort. I know that nobody ever wants to talk about aging, but my 9 years of being here, I jokingly say, and I say this jokingly, we start with a walking device, we end with a walking device, we start in briefs, we end in briefs. That is the circle of life. It's how you celebrate it all the way through. And the senior center wants to be able to make sure that we're helping individuals celebrate all the way through the cycle of life. Okay, so I'm going to pause again. I value the time that you all have designated to come and to join and listen. I look forward to, as Aging at Home moves forward, continue to partnering with Leslie and all of HNET members. It's an honor to do what I do every day. And like I said, it takes a village, and there are multiple layers within that village to help the pioneers who built us. Yes, Ron.
Hey, Darlene. So I have maybe a year ago, no, before COVID, I went over there for a meal, lunch for two friends of mine. It was nice. So I haven't been there at the senior center since before COVID. So I saw the website saying the dining room's closed, but they're a takeout. So if I want to go have takeout meal, can that be done?
Yes, that we have two ways now. We have the drive up. You can just drive up, call, let us know you're coming. Drive up at 11:30. We hand it out the door and off you go. We also have an annex location, which is over by Planet Fitness, which is a sit down. It's at the Shoppers Forum on Lathrop and University. And you can go, and there's coffee and TV and magazines, and we serve lunch from 11:30 to 12:30 there. We expect the kitchen expansion to be done in December, and be able to settle all of the equipment that's in the dining room back into the kitchen. And so we will have a celebratory moment of the senior center opening back up for activities. So yes, Ron, 452-1735. Just call, let us know you want a lunch, drive up, and we hand it to you and off you go.
That sounds good. Now, I would feel guilty getting a free lunch. I can afford a lunch. So can somebody go and just, pay, maybe you charge for, I don't know, but can somebody go and just pay a reasonable price and help out the senior center by giving some money with the lunch?
Yes, we ask for a $5 donation. The suggested donation price is $5. We haven't raised that. We haven't changed that. And we have a couple of ways. Some people will buy red tickets for 20, you get 5 for 20, and then they write their names on the back, and we do a drawing each month. Some people just make a share up donation. We don't charge anybody for anything because the ideal component is just getting a nutrition into someone is the primary focus of our nutrition program.
And just to help out the senior center, I imagine the true cost of a lunch, if it weren't subsidized, would be $10 or more. Is that correct?
So 2 years ago, you would have heard me say, Ron, that it was $2.50 to $3.50 to put food on a plate, not including labor. Now it's costing us $4 to $5 to put food on a plate, not including labor. We work with a lot of volunteer hands, and so that really does make a huge difference for us, Ron. But I would say that if you were to say, Darlene, what is the true cost of a meal now? It probably is $6 to $7 now in order for us to produce a meal.
Okay, thanks.
You're so welcome.
Darlene, you talked a little bit about the community's needs for more beds in assisted living homes, but also the need for more in-home care for people who want to age at home. Could you talk a little bit more about, in the coming years, the number of potential caregivers is also an issue that we have to address, and maybe anything that the senior center is doing to address that issue?
So in the 1980s, it was 14 caregivers per 80-year-old. And in 2030, it's going to be 4 caregivers per 80-year-old. And I think that I would be a cause of that I have no children. So when I become 80 and older, I won't have an individual that will be able to help me age. I think it's one of the driving forces why I do what I do, because by the time I get 80, I sure hope that our community has some services to help me age. So the senior center is part of the community health improvement plan at the hospital, and it's called CHIP. And we meet monthly. And in that, there are multiple conversations about workforce, about volunteering, about it's very difficult to get companies to pencil out here for an investment of like Timber Creek, for instance, which is opening, they're hoping in November. That it's a little challenging. And so, like I said, that the retired nurse component is going to be a really valuable part in 2030. Being able to pop in and to do a wellness check, blood pressure, etc. Or the CNA program here in the interior, the university is part of that CHIP group, so we're working on how we can strengthen our workforce. And we've had a conversation the other day. Baby boomers have had a tremendous impact on our culture. And as baby boomers are retiring, there is not a large enough workforce behind the baby boomers to fill positions as they retire. And then we'll throw a pandemic in there just for kicks and giggles. And so I think that we are looking at kind of restructuring and how we do things. But again, it's going to take the retired nurses and enhanced CNA, certified nursing assistant position, where maybe sponsor some scholarships to encourage individuals to move through that. There are countries that students will say, give free room and board, and I'm going to use, percentages over what age, 60 and older, 63% 60 and older, like Golden Towers, for instance. Other countries will take students and will give them free room and board so they can volunteer within that community setting to run errands, do some grocery shopping, prep a meal. It's that kind of outside the box thinking. There are other countries that are partnering assisted living homes with nursery schools, or preschools. It's just a way of just kind of rethinking the multi-generational and how we can get past or help move through a large group of individuals that are impacting worldwide, an aging group, living longer. Men, life expectancy has increased by 3 years. And that's a lot, 3 years for men. Usually that doesn't happen in such a huge chunk, but. So Leslie, did I answer your question? Did I? Okay. I've known Cheryl for 9 years now, and I met Cheryl when my very first, it was one of my very first grant submittals that I did was
Mhm.
when Cheryl was partnering with the, working for the borough for the health and community-based grant. And, you know, she heard me say the same things 9 years ago that I'm still saying today. It's just the collectively as a community, acknowledging the beauty of aging, there's no, you know, I had a gentleman that would come and he would, you know, anybody who uses the Meals on Wheels program is you know, lazy. And I'm like, lazy? I'm like, I have a 90-year-old on the Meals on Wheels program. How can you call them lazy, for crying out loud, right? But he wound up having a stroke, severe stroke. And he wound up at our front desk and he needed Meals on Wheels, transportation, and homemaker services. And it just is part of life. And I think it's a huge testimony to the beauty of Fairbanks and the interior, because we genuinely really care. We just have to get individuals to talk about it legislative wise, locally, whether if that's city or borough, through organizations, and how we can continue to partner. Those that still can do, how can we volunteer? How can we contribute? And so, you know, like I said, Cheryl has been listening to me say this for 9 years now.
You're getting more and more eloquent every year.
No, thank you.
I guess I would ask, from the perspective of aging at home, as you see needs where our membership might be able to assist, please reach out. You
I
know,
was
and
really tickled when Leslie had communicated the scholarship component to that aging at home, right? What a beautiful way to add into that overall large picture of need. And what an amazing idea. I was just tickled to death about that. And I can't wait to take that back to the community health improvement plan CHIP group. I'm a doer. I can't stand to just talk about the same thing over and over again. It drives me crazy and I get a little irritated because you have to put actions to what you're saying. And aging at home has always put action in what they're saying. What you all say, you actually do. And what an amazing group of individuals.
well, we are pretty focused on helping out among our own group, but we don't always know what everything else is going on. And I think you're pretty well plugged into all of that. So, you know, as things come along, let Leslie know so she can keep the rest of us clued in.
I was super excited that the board had chosen Leslie as Joy's replacement. And I can't wait to watch her blossom as she gets her feet more underneath of her as the year goes on. Okay, well, I'm always here. If anybody has any questions, you can throw it through Leslie. You can call me directly. We are so excited to celebrate the expansion with Aging at Home and all the other community members when we get to that point. And then hopefully you'll get to go, you're closing the senior center one more time when I get to do the dining room expansion, and I'm going to go, yes, I am. And it's one more time. And then we're good to go. Then I feel like the facility will be able to handle It's a 240% growth rate in the 80 and older population, and we really need to be ready for that. And so that's our focus for the next year, is being ready for a 240% growth rate in an 80 and older population.
Darlene, I just estimated that you're not going to be 80 until 2060.
So let's see, I am 80, 58, 22, 2022 plus 22, 2044. I am 58 this year. In 2 years, I'll be 60.
No, no, you're much younger than that.
My birthday is tomorrow, actually. I'm turning 58 tomorrow, so.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the compliment, Ron. I genuinely appreciate that. 60. I'm not going to be 80 until 2060.
Our
You're a
two
sweet
da-
talker. You're a sweet talker, Ron, is what you are.
Our 2 daughters say to me, Dad, do not ever ask a woman how old she is.
Oh, well, you did that in a beautiful way, Ron, let me tell you.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate all of you very much. And the senior center and the staff here, you know, a very quick little side note as a woo-woo, that prior to the pandemic, we had 15 Meals on Wheels volunteers. We currently have over 50 Meals on Wheels volunteers that through all of the craziness, we were able to hold on to 98% of our staff. They are the same individuals that have been here as long as I've been here. And what a blessing and an honor it is to be the executive director for a group of volunteers and employees that genuinely come in every day with hearts and find the joy of helping individuals live independently and celebrate life. It's a good thing.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us and answering our questions. Does anyone have any more questions before we leave? All right.
And thanks for coming in again today and helping us assemble all those meals. Greatly appreciated.
Sure, thanks.
I'll see you on Tuesday. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.